All right, we should be good to go.
Okay, would you call roll, please?
Yeah, we'll call the meeting for Thursday, January 21st, 2021 for the Orange Township Board of Zoning Appeals. Call roll. Mr. Shipley,
Yes.
Ms. Sundar,
Yes.
Mr. I'll be late. Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Travs.
Yes.
Okay. We'll start with the first case, which is variance application VA-20-26. It is the applicant and owner is Marwin Deek and Laura Deek.
Yes.
Correct.
Mr. Beard, if you would, I don't have the hard copy packet. I'm working off the dual monitors.
Okay.
Would you do the swearing in, please?
Yep. I'll do that in just a second. I think Mr. Oster just showed up. He's
Okay.
Brett, would you want to read that? Our intern. You want to read A and B there while I'm out?
Anyone who intends to testify, please raise your right hand and be sworn. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you shall give be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? State, I do.
I
And when it is your turn to offer testimony, please state your full name, address, and affirm that you've been sworn in. Anyone who intends to offer comments or testimony through the online chat room function also needs to be sworn in remotely. Before your initial comment, please type your name, address, and the words "I affirm" to indicate that you solemnly swear that the testimony that you are offering is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Do the I-dos again. Brett, are we sufficient as far as the I-dos go?
You are the you can save everybody some time, like when he said that when you get ready to speak, if you state your full name, address, and affirm that you've been sworn in, that'll help out a lot, or we'll have to stop and do that each time you get ready to speak, or once you start to speak.
That sounds great. Thank you.
Are we ready for the first case?
We are.
A little out of breath running. All right, the first case is VA-20-26. The applicant owner is Marwin J. Deek and Laura A. Deek. The site is 7526 Hillgale Court. The parcel ID number of 318-421-02021-000. It's zoned single family plan residential district. They're requesting an area variance to install an in-ground fiberglass swimming pool. And they're seeking a 15-foot variance from the current rear yard setback of 35 feet. They're requesting that the area variance is from rezoning case 17677 Wilshire East. The subject property is located on the west side of Hillgale Court. The site is currently owned by the Deeks. The current rear yard setback is 35 feet. The applicant is requesting a 15-foot variance. It's for more space for the swimming pool and safety measures. The surrounding areas are all zoned single family plan residential district. To the north, south, and west are all single family homes, and to the east is Wilshire HOA owned empty lot. It's a zoomed out aerial of the site. And we also have a zoomed in aerial of the site. The staff review, the area variances from rezoning case 17677 Wilshire East. 1007G, rear yard setback, no structure shall be located closer than 35 feet to the rear line of any lot. Children's play sets shall be exempt from this restriction if located at least 5 feet from the rear line. The pool will encroach 15 feet into the rear setback, so they're seeking a 15-foot variance. Exhibit 1's a site plan showing the dimensions and rear setback encroachments on the west side of the property. Exhibit 2 is a zoomed in site plan. And then the next is a digital image showing what the pool could look like. We also have site photos. This is a street view from Google Maps shown from the front of the house. And then we also have one from the Google satellite from above. We also have site photos from on the site. And that cone is where the setback would go to, would be where the seating wall is. Or the retaining
Beard,
wall.
can you back up that last drawing real quick, please? That one. Okay, thank you.
Don't mind the blurriness on the pictures. That's from the rain falling on it, on the lens. But this is from the rear from it. Pretty close to the property line is these trees.
And Jeff, that cone is what again?
That's where that's the 20 feet from their property line.
That's where the pool would actually come to.
That would be where the retaining wall area would be.
So the concrete on the side would come over to that.
The back of the retaining wall would come over to that. Which would end the,
Yeah.
which would end the impervious piece, right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the concrete and the retaining wall and all.
Right.
It's pretty egregious.
What would be the height of that retaining wall?
I do not know the height of the retaining wall.
Can you go back to that one picture where we could see down the side of the house? Yeah, that one. No, one more. That one.
And the applicants are on the call, so we can open the floor up to them to speak first, and then you could ask questions after. And we do
You
have some
have
residents.
something else that you have with the report that you haven't told us?
Yeah, we do have some letters, some in support, and then there's some that have some concerns. Most of the concerns dealt with landscaping for the two houses that would be affected behind the property, and which they submitted an updated plan showing the new landscaping. And then also one of the other concerns is drainage. Apparently there's drainage issues all throughout most of those properties. So that is one of the concerns from nearby residents also, of how that drainage will be affected.
Yeah, I think I saw where there was two people that were had issues with water drainage.
Yeah.
That's right.
Mr. Deek, this is Jerry Miller. How are you preventing any type of flooding presently, since the yard slopes considerably right back into your back deck area and in towards the back of your house?
Again, this is Marwin J. Deek, and I have been sworn in.
Your address.
I'm sorry.
You have to give me your address.
At
And
75
address too, please. Thank you.
7526 Hillgale Court, Lewis Center, 43035. Mr. Miller, we've had extensive problems. Actually heartened to hear that we're not the only people with drainage issues. The drainage situation is what actually got us to look at redoing the backyard. We've already had to fix our lower level walls a couple of times because the water wasn't draining and coming through the lower level walls, the concrete walls, at a massive expense, might I add, a couple of times where we had flooding come down there. So I don't know what the grading was like when they first had this area built. And we actually called Delaware County out to come out and take a look a few months back prior to even looking at this project to see what we can do to alleviate some of the water issues that we have. So when we looked at taking on this project, one of our biggest concerns was the drainage, because it just seems like we fix it and it just keeps on coming back. So part of this plan is that we're going to put, I mean, there are currently French drains. I don't know that they're very effective, but we are going to have drainage at the top of the, by the retaining wall, I would assume.
Yeah.
Since our property slopes so much, I thought it was mainly us that had the problem with the water drainage. But because we have such a slope, it's almost like a river going underneath the lawn during the spring season, or really any time that it rains. I'm sorry. And when we looked at putting this, pool in, we definitely, one of the biggest things we wanted to address was the drainage. So it would be counter to our own interest if we didn't address the drainage, because that's one of the primary issues we're dealing with right now.
Well, French drains are very effective if installed correctly. And as much water as you say that's coming in there now, you may want to have one put on each side of your house. That's just food for thought, whether you have the pool issue move forward or not. That will prevent a lot of that flooding, or rapidly help it.
Absolutely. And I know we have one on the south side, right, honey? And then we have another drain on the north side, and they still haven't done enough. So we're, as we're tearing everything up, we're looking at really putting in some heavy duty drainage, because whatever's there right now, to your point, may not have been installed correctly. It was put in by the builder when the house was built. But it really hasn't been effective for us. And again, I'm kind of surprised to hear that it's not just us with the drainage issue, that other neighbors have the same issue.
Well, in regards to a French drain, and I'm not an engineer, but I have a good understanding of them because I've encountered that same type of issue. You got to make sure that you got enough crushed stone and screens and the perforation and pipe itself large enough to accommodate high volumes of water, and make sure your screens are set so where they're not going to get easily clogged up.
Yeah.
Once clogged, they won't do you any good.
Yep. Gentlemen, Delaware County mentioned the same thing, and he actually inspected them and really couldn't give us any solutions at the time, short of digging everything out and taking a look at what we have going on. But honestly, even with our backyard, which was put in roughly 10 years ago, the current hardscape that we have back there, the yard itself for a good part of the year is unusable because you can't walk around the house because of the amount of water that's usually sitting or causing the lawn to turn into a muddy mess for the most part. So mowing the grass is an issue with that property.
That's what the two letters said on the neighbors also.
Yeah, it's pretty horrendous. And I'm assuming the people that have a similar issue are people that are on the same level that we're at. And we just happen to be on that downslope. And while I'm on the topic, I can address the retaining wall. I think the purpose of that retaining wall is to be able to, well, yeah, I mean, put the drainage in and also hold back the soil from coming through, because our current hardscape over time has all been basically shifted and pushed over because of the amount of water that flows through. So definitely something that is not even an option for us to address. That's first and foremost is the drainage.
Let me ask you a question in regards to the drainage, the French drains along with the pools. If you've got a heavy amount of rain that typically comes in the spring, how are you going to keep your pool from effectively not flooding as well and just causing it to be worse?
I assume, Mr. Miller, you're referencing when the pool is open.
Well, unless you've got a hard cover or a very good cover that's going to prevent any moisture from penetration, heavy rains, you're going to get more water in your pool.
Right. And I'm assuming, one, that any overflow should be addressed in the drainage, because if there is overflow, the drainage that we currently have that needs to be looked at and updated would be in front of the pool. So the water flowing down would go into those drains. That's number one. Number two, we do plan on having, we will have an automatic pool cover on this, a hard cover. So just for safety purposes, alongside the fence, we are going to have an automatic pool cover.
Okay, that's all the questions I have for now.
I'm going to start with my original question about the height of the retaining wall.
If I can find that in there, I am.
To the nearest foot would be fine. It looks like it's almost 4 feet high in that one picture, or would have been.
Yeah, I have to be honest, I'm not sure that I have that data in front of me. We know the fence is 54 inches high. Is that correct, honey?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. As far as the retaining wall, do you have any data on that?
I don't, but it's not, I don't know that it's coming up around.
No. Yeah. I mean, I would assume I would assume the height of the retaining wall, if they haven't already mapped this out, would have to just be brought up high enough to meet the ground level that would be above it. I don't foresee the retaining wall exceeding the ground level just because of the slope that we're on.
Well, and I agree with that, but I'm looking at the artist illustration of what your backyard is going to look like with the pool, and it is drawn on a flat piece of ground. And I saw that hillside, or that you're sitting down. So is the fence going to be on top of the retaining wall or inside the retaining wall?
Behind it.
Behind the retaining wall?
Yeah, and behind the shrubbery there.
Yeah. Somebody earlier referred to that retaining wall also as a sitting wall. Did I hear that right, or did I just make that up?
I said that wrong. It should have been, I believe it's a retaining wall.
Okay, I got you. Yeah, that was going to, the only reason I asked was that was
Right.
the height of it, right? Okay.
And
Depending on how the retaining wall is built,
Right.
could also affect what we're seeking here tonight.
Exactly.
and I did just get some feedback from the contractor saying it's in the ballpark of about 20 inches or so. Is that correct?
The retaining wall be 20 inches?
Yeah, you could sit on it
Right.
according to the pictures. Yeah.
Right.
It's higher than the seats that are there in the pictures.
Right. That's what I thought also, yeah.
And Mr. Deek, do you know if the retaining walls will have footers?
We can find out. I don't, but we can find out. I would hope so.
Okay. I mean, if it doesn't have footers, then that changes the variance request.
Yeah.
I'm over at the Township.
So you would have less of a variance if it doesn't have footers,
Yeah.
but
Having our meeting.
with your
Okay.
hill, I believe it probably should have.
Fine.
Yeah. And I'd love to say we don't need footers, but given the situation that we're dealing with, and we've got stones back there that probably weigh multiple tons apiece that have been shifted over by the water coming through. I mean,
And if you don't have footers, they're gonna,
yeah,
your retaining wall will not be in its normal position very long.
it would defeat the purpose of a retaining wall. I was just told that they are going to put a footer to the frost line.
That's 3 foot down.
That makes sense.
Yeah, well, the nature of water being hydraulic, it is going to want to push this pole out of the ground. So if you already have a water problem, it is going to try to push this pole out of the ground.
Especially with the fiberglass.
Did you say push the pool out of the ground?
It'll
Yeah.
float.
It will push it out. Hydraulically, the water is always trying to push whatever is in the ground out
Right.
of the ground when it gets soaked like that.
Right.
So unless you can drain at the bottom of the pool level,
Yeah, you're going to have trouble, but that's
that's up to
Not
you.
our
But
concern.
we're just saying that part of when we look at this, I think I disagree with your architect or whoever it is that, okay, if that's 20 inches on the picture that I'm seeing, that's still well below the top of your ground at your lot line. So you've got a lot of fall just to get to that retaining wall. Now the water's going to pool up around the retaining wall unless there's a drain at the retaining wall, and that drain has to take it clear out of wherever. I assume your lowest point is the driveway or the street.
Yes. It's just a continuous slope, and we will
Yeah.
have a lot of drainage up top. That's where we don't have any drainage right now, is up top.
Well, the drainage issue that you're encountering now could get worse,
Yeah.
even with the French drains.
Wow.
Yeah, unless you've got some 18 inch, well, maybe not 18, but at least 12 inch French
12
drain.
inch tiles. Oh, I was talking about you're going to have a 6 to 8 inch tile and at least a 12 inch opening. I would
Yep.
go probably 24.
And then you're going to be at least 6 to 8 inches, if not more, stone all the way around that. So now if you've got a 6 inch drain plus your tile and 6 to 8 inches of stone all the way around it, now you're looking at 2 feet.
Yeah,
That's
quite
a-
easily.
Yeah. We're not trying to scare you off. We're based on our experience. We're trying to give you some sound advice.
I'm looking for a pool, not a headache.
Understood.
Yeah, I appreciate all the feedback you're giving. I know you guys have eminently much more experience with this stuff than I have ever had. From our perspective, we just wanted to get something in there for the kids, and given the situation the past year, it's been a little difficult for them.
Yeah.
But at the same time, to your point, we really need to know what we're getting into versus having to deal with more and more costly problems down the road. So any feedback, any experience you guys are imparting is
Well,
very
if you've already had trouble with your basement, you're going to have the same thing with this, because your basement is in the same situation as below ground. And anytime you have massive water that's below ground, it is hydraulic force against everything that's in the ground.
Yeah.
If you take an empty cup and fill your sink with water and push that cup down into the water, when it is empty, it naturally pushes it right back up and out.
Correct. Have you had more than one pool company come out and talk to you about this?
Go ahead.
No, you're the expert on that, honey.
Hi, this is Laura Deek. I live at 7526 Hillgale Court, and I've been sworn in. I've had one pool come out, or one pool company come out, and then I've talked to another pool company where I went to them, and then they just based everything off of our drawing, or I'm sorry, what is this?
Satellite.
Yes, satellite.
Okay, so
pictures.
I guess we can answer that by saying we've really only had one company come out.
And were they aware of the water problem?
Yeah,
They were aware of the water problem. I'm not sure I got the kind of expertise from them that I'm getting from you in terms of the, the potential pitfalls that we have there. And I have to be honest, the water problem is, just like the other neighbors had commented, is a major, major concern. We really haven't figured out a way around it.
Right.
And that's.
Yeah, they said they couldn't even keep grass in the yard. It's so bad.
Every time they mow, it just tears everything up. It's mud
Yeah.
back there in a lot of spots. It's pretty bad.
Mr. Oster, I would willing to put forward a motion to table this and allow the Deeks to come back in after they have had some additional pool company come out and openly discuss the flooding issue of today, the French drains, et cetera. At least they can get a fair shot that way and not have to reapply for another permit fee.
I would second that motion.
Mr. D, would you, if that's the direction you would like to go, what we would need from you is a request to have this tabled until you can do some additional research.
Absolutely.
Come from you.
Yes, I would appreciate if you guys can table this until we do get some more data on this.
Yeah, I would really pin them down on what kind of guarantee am I going to get? Here's the issues I've got with water before you go throwing all this money into something that in 2 years is all broken up and shifted and moved. And
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree.
Okay.
Wholeheartedly agree.
Based on the applicant's request, Mr. Oster, I will make a motion to have this tabled until they can do some additional research.
yeah, I second that.
And sir, and ma'am, I would strongly urge you to get whatever the the pool company and or drainage company to provide anything in writing,
Okay.
not a salesman's pitch. And I'm sorry for saying it like that. Nothing against salesmen, but get everything in writing.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Appreciate all the feedback on this.
Okay.
Before I go over the
Vote.
vote, I just want to add, we did have some comments on YouTube, and their neighbors, a few houses north of the property,
Okay.
and they have 4 French drains and drainage system put in, costing them over $7,000, and they still have issues. They still have standing water, so it goes all the way down. They stated that they were purchased a house. They were told that no houses behind them, and then when Hillgale Court got developed, it caused the drainage issues. So they've been working with MI, Delaware County, Delco, and things trying to get it. So it's pretty much all along down there. So
Yeah.
And I'll send you. I don't know if you guys contacted Matt Lanham.
I have.
Okay.
Yes.
And he will come out and I don't know if it's an HOA issue. If you could get your HOA to kind of jump on board to help
Okay.
maybe figure out a solution if all the homeowners want to get together and maybe if that's put something big in or something. But
Again, very enlightening. I really did not know that so many other people had a very similar issue to what we've been dealing with. So that's good to know.
And the other
Well,
issue too, Mr. Deek, if you, when you start talking about drainage, and I've dealt with drainage quite a bit, if you start talking about drainage, the water doesn't go away. The same amount of water is going to be there. So the question would be for drainage, where is it going? And if it's designed to go to a certain spot, then how's it going to get there? And that there's companies, whether it's the drainage company or your landscape, whoever's doing that, ought to be able to tell you where that water's going.
Right. And Mr. Shipley, that's what's a little perplexing is directly across the street from our house is a nice, massive retention pond.
Right. So how do you get it there without it tearing up your, right. So that's the issue. How do you get it there?
Exactly. So
That retention pond is lower than probably what your house is.
correct.
Should be.
It should be, yeah.
It should be. Right.
It is lower, but for some reason, I guess myself,
The water's
and
not
the other
hitting it.
neighbors, that water's not making it there.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Before you go, Mr. Oster, I made the motion. You did a second. Mr. Beard, are you going to take a vote?
Those voting, Mr. Oster,
Yes.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Shipley,
Yes.
Mr. Krebs,
Yes.
Ms. Sundar.
Yes.
All right, the motion carries to table the application so they can do some more research without tabling fee cost per Mr. Miller. So approved by the
We
board.
wish you luck.
Thank you so much. Thanks again for all the help.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Did we just sign off? No?
Yeah, you can just sign off.
Perfect, thank you.
It's like you figure out how to do that.
Jerry, I think that was a good move, by the way. I think that was a good call. I was thinking the same thing myself. Was it? I'm not sure that was prepared. Need a little more research.
People getting burned.
Yeah, need more research on that. That's tough too. Water, like Rick pointed out, it's hard to control.
Yep.
It is.
And
And a
people,
lot of people just don't realize how hydraulic it is.
Especially for those fiberglass pools.
well, you're the way you portrayed it though is putting a
Yeah.
bowl in a sink is an outstanding example.
Well, and that's the way your house is all the time because you don't have anything, in your basement like water on the inside. But,
Hopefully
the whole
not.
time, that's why they build houses now with so much drains all around the foundation because it's constantly trying to push that thing out of the ground.
Yep.
Yeah, you
You
want
know.
to keep it well below the basement.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why everything starts breaking up and cracking.
Yep.
All right, we'll move on to our second application for the evening. This application is conditional use CU-20-27. The applicant and owner is Fisher Homes. The site is 107 Corduroy Road, parcel ID of 318-23019-001-000. It's zone single-family planned residential district. They're seeking conditional use from the Orange Township zoning resolution and their development text to allow for the construction of a model home in an area's zone single-family planned residential district. The subject property is located on the south side of Corduroy Road. The site is currently owned by Fisher Homes Columbus LLC. The applicant is seeking a conditional use for a model home in a single-family planned district. The surrounding areas to the north is planned commercial. I guess it's kind of northeast from this site is the Inn at Olentangy Trail. To the south is Enchanted Care Learning Center. It's also planned commercial. To the east is planned commercial as North Orange Family Dentistry. And to the west is single family planned district, the empty lots that are owned by the Fisher Homes Grand Communities LLC. The zoomed out aerial of the site. You have also a zoomed in aerial of the site. The house is actually under construction as it was approved as a regular residential permit originally, and it's now going to be turned into their model home. So it is under construction. They do have a valid permit for what is being constructed right now. For the staff review under the conditional use, the hours of operation, it shall close before 9 p.m. during the spring, summer, and fall seasons, and 8 p.m. during the winter season. No model home shall be open on Sunday before noon. Their reply was that they'll be open from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Wednesday, 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. on Fridays, and Saturday and Sundays will be Saturdays will be 11 to 6, and Sundays will be 12 to 6. Under lighting, all exterior lighting must be down lighting, so that absolutely no lighting shall cast on adjoining residential properties. All off-street parking must be illuminated. All exterior lighting shall be extinguished at the closing time of the model home, except that which is in character with those found on the surrounding houses. They say that the exterior lighting will be in character with those found on the surrounding homes and be down lighting. They did provide some lighting plans. They are just going to be lights that are normally on a residential house, porch lights. And then they did provide a landscape plan that shows they'll have landscaping lights in the along the landscaping around the off-street parking areas. Parking all model homes shall be provided off-street. The number of required spaces is 6 per model home. Driveway of the model home may be utilized for not more than 2 of the required spaces. They stated the off-street parking will be provided on the home site adjacent to the model home site at 8729. And they provided exhibits with the landscaping plan that shows where the parking will be. Screening and trash receptacles, the landscape drawings shall be required and shall show adequate landscaping and screening from residential lots. And clear marking of the boundaries of the model home lot. Trash receptacles shall be provided around the model home for use by the public. The landscape drawings are provided and include the required trash receptacles shown in the exhibits. The termination of use, the use of the model home within a residential subdivision or within any single phase of a multi-phase subdivision shall terminate when the zoning certificates of compliance have been issued for 90% of the lots therein. They stated that they would follow this standard. Exhibit 1 shows the house that was permitted. Exhibit 2 is the landscaping plan that they originally submitted. They have updated it to show where the lights will be. This is the updated landscape plan and shows the red dots are where they'll have lights, which are path lights for the parking area. Here where my cursor is, that's where the trash receptacle will be located.
Mr. Beard, before you go to the next slide, what is the parking lot size?
They don't have it specified.
And if the scale is up there 20 feet, the driveway coming in to that parking lot isn't 20 feet. And I would like to see their drawing to see how they're getting 4 cars in there.
That's what's required is 4.
Yep. Well, 6, 2 in the
6.
driveway. So the
Right.
4 otherwise.
Oh, okay, so it's just 4 in the other lot.
4 in the
Right.
other lot.
Right.
Yeah.
Or on the street?
Yeah, it
No.
looks like it would hold 4. If you came in that drive and headed towards the house, you could definitely slot 4 in that.
How wide is your car?
Typical driveway is 16 feet wide.
Okay. So we need 32 feet in the area to the left towards the house in order to get 4 cars in there, right?
Yes, but if the parking lot, Mr. Beard, could you move the arrow down to the word parking right there? To the left of that, I would venture to say is 40 feet wide.
Okay, not by my estimation, but I used a ruler
Okay,
and it wasn't anywhere close to 40 feet.
okay.
So that's my first concern, is that there's not enough parking.
Well, I'm assuming that their driveway on the house is a double wide driveway that 2 cars can fit in.
Sure.
Okay, so if you took that and turned that sideways, you could definitely fit 2 of those in that parking lot left side. Matter of fact, the apron looks wider on the parking lot than it does on the home.
The driveway apron, yeah, I think that's correct.
And that's a double car driveway right there. There's going to be 2 of them fitting side by side.
From the pointer, and if you head
Down to
straight
there,
on
yeah.
north,
If you go from
That's
this spot to this
40.
spot is roughly 32 feet.
okay, that's a
That's
typical
just.
16 feet.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Not trying to be nitpicky, I'm just trying to be clear.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, Mr. Beard, please continue.
This is the sign that they're proposing for the site. Um,
Will there be any lighting on this sign? Oh, wait, I'll wait till,
Yeah, their applicant could speak to that. I do not believe there'll be lighting. As I was in conversations with the individual that had submitted the application.
okay.
This is Colleen Miedema. I'm with Fisher Homes at 7965 North High Street, Columbus 43235, and I have been sworn in. So I was just letting you all read through, but I'm happy to answer any questions. As far as the driveway, I'm trying to look up right now. They did not give me the specific width. I'm looking at another home. We've replicated this model home based off another home in Glade at Highland Lakes. And so I'm trying to find that parking lot because I believe we had had that one where we could fit almost 8 cars. So, I would imagine we try and do something similar, but I will see if I can get that information for you all. And then to answer your question on the sign, there will be no lighting on the sign.
Okay, thank you.
And this shows the plan, the as-built that was submitted for the permit. Also shows the model home sign at that location, which is roughly 7 feet from the right of way. And then I have a couple pictures of the exterior elevations and what the house is proposed to look like. That's all I have for this one.
Jeff, what's the distance that a sign like that has to be from the right of way?
We don't have any standards for model home signage.
That's what I was wondering.
That's because it's temporary
Yeah.
and they're not allowed actually. So it is a conditional thing, I guess I should say. It'll have to be removed as soon as it turns over.
We don't have to have the conditional use now?
They do have to have the conditional use for the model home to use it as a model home. But the model home section in our code does not have signage standards. And also our sign code has no standards that regulate model home signs.
So anybody can put any kind of sign they want in?
That
If
would
we
be,
allow it.
yeah, it'd be up to the BZA to approve it as part of the conditional use.
Colleen, how many homes you building in this entity?
Can I take that?
Please.
Charles Romano, Fisher Homes. I have been sworn in, 7965 North High Street, Columbus, Ohio, 43235. We're going to have 35 total homes, counting the model. And eventually we will turn that parking area into another home site.
Do you have signage to the front of the subdivision?
We do have a community sign that was permitted.
Okay.
Right out around the back side of the model, almost onto, I'm not sure what that cross street is, kind of by the park. If you're, there's the dentist office across the street. It's right on the back corner of where our property line is there that we had permitted about a year ago.
I was able to find dimensions for the model parking lot. If I'm able to share my screen, I can share that with the group if that would be helpful.
Does it give you dimensions?
It does. But it says I'm not able to share with the group right now, so.
Can you email that into Mr. Beard real quick and he can bring it up?
Yep, not a problem.
You said that this parking lot is going to be the same as what you have in Highland Lakes that holds 8 cars?
No, this one is a little different. I misspoke. I know that we were trying to do something similar. I mean, we're literally building the exact same house, but it does look like the parking lot. We had a bigger home site next door when we were in Glade at Highland Lake. So this one is going to hold 4 spaces.
Okay, because the lots typically are much larger than this in Highland Lakes.
All right, let me get this over to.
As long as it meets the requirements, that's the key.
All right.
Mr. Beard, while Colleen is sending that, the road width, trying to see here, is 22 feet wide. Is that correct?
Where are you seeing that?
I'm trying to pull it up. On Corduroy Road?
I'm not sure how wide that road is.
Well,
My recent-
it says 6 feet. No, that's 6 feet in a 5-foot sidewalk. That's
For asking that is if I was reading it correctly, and that's why I was trying to clarify. If you're going to have on-street parking on both sides, that may be a problem with the fire department getting up through there, but.
Are you looking at the 22 feet that's on this plan that's there now at the entrance of the driveway?
Yes.
That's the width of the driveway.
Okay. All right.
And this actually shows to the edge of the road. It doesn't show the road. There's 11 feet between the right of way and the roadway.
Okay. So if the driveway is 22 feet wide, that's considerably wider than normal because most driveways are 16 foot.
right.
Mine is 20 foot and it's much wider than normal.
As long as they can put 2 cars in the driveway and 4 in that parking lot, then it meets requirements, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
So
That's
which would be our only concern.
Right.
Mr. Beard, was there anything I looked through the conditional use requirements and is there anything that jumps out that does not meet Orange Township's conditional use requirement?
No, because we don't have any specific on like foot candles or any of that. That's in this area of the code. It doesn't make us look at the general development standards or any other areas.
But we do comply with, as you pointed out, when we started this, with the hours that they could be open, the exterior lighting requirements, and it specifically addresses off-street parking for requirements, and what have you. And it appears that they have met those requirements or intend to meet those requirements.
Yep.
Mike, I had another question about converting the garage over to the office. That looked like it was a little close for COVID right now. And what is the ventilation?
So I can't speak specifically to the ventilation, but it's treated just as part of the home right now, the way it's built. But as far as COVID requirements, actually our sales counselors are meeting virtually, but we are meeting at a model homes by appointment only. So we are only allowing, I believe, at max 2 adults with a sales counselor. We aren't allowing any children under the age of 16 into the model homes. They're being sanitized daily. Masks are a requirement to enter the models. We actually lock the doors. It's kind of crazy for being a builder. We're here to sell homes, but we've turned people away if they have too many people with them. Even they have to call the phone number before they can come in because we ask the screening questions to ensure everyone's safety.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're really not here for COVID concerns.
No, but it was the distance that I
Doesn't
was
matter.
looking at. Yeah.
Doesn't matter. That's a standard thing for them to do. They make the garage their sales office.
Oh, I totally agree. That's very standard to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have no other questions.
And I also, just to clarify real quick, we have not started construction of the model home. We do have the approved zoning permit, but we have not started yet. We were waiting for this hearing before we would start the home. So, and I actually just texted my field manager to be sure, because I'm the one who controls the start dates for construction. And so you had me in a bit of a panic for a second.
Is that number 3 that they're working on then?
Yes. Yeah. That's the one they're working on.
Okay. Out on site, it's hard to tell where the lots are. So.
Oh yeah. 100%. I totally understand that. But you made my heart skip a beat, because I'm like, oh man, I did not authorize that. So, but we did not start construction yet. We were waiting till we had this hearing.
I apologize for misspeaking there.
Oh,
Any
no,
other
you're
questions?
fine. I just didn't want the board
Mr.
to
Oster.
started
Yes.
without permission.
And Mr. Oster, I don't have any other questions, but I would, provided that the parking meets requirements, and it certainly sounds like it does, I would make a motion to approve the conditional use request, case number CU 20-27.
I'll
I
second.
would second that, and I would also want to restate that temporary sign would be allowed and will be removed upon when it changes over to a regular home from the model.
Most
I think that's fair. I don't think anyone would want to keep that in their home when they buy it.
definitely sell homes for us.
I think by code, it has to be once
It has-
90% of them, that it has to be removed.
Yes.
All right, we have a motion made by Mr. Shipley to approve conditional use case CU-20-27, second by Mr. Oster. Those voting, Mr. Oster,
Yes.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Shipley,
Yes.
Mr. Krebs,
Yes.
Ms. Sandar.
Yes.
Motion carries. And Colleen, I'll send you a response letter in next couple days.
Perfect. I appreciate that. And thank you for all of your help in getting this together.
Thank you.
All right. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to our next case for the evening. We'll start out with the variance case, VA-20-28. There's also conditional use associated with this one, but we'll discuss the variance case first. The applicant and the owner is Lifepoint Church. The site is 7404 Graphics Way. Parcel ID number is 318-230-01-008-001. That's Zone Farm Residential District. The request and variances from the Orange Township Zoning Resolution, Article 22, for multiple signs, including wall signs, monument signs, and vehicular signs. They're also requesting additional use for the monument signs. The subject site is located at 7404 Graphics Way, which is located on the east side of Columbus Pike and on the west side of Graphics Way. And the site is currently owned by Lifepoint Church. Once again, they're requesting variances from the Orange Township zoning resolution Article 22 for multiple signs, including wall signs, monument signs, and vehicular signs. The surrounding areas to the north is plain commercial. To the northeast is Menards. Straight north is vacant land that's zoned plain commercial. To the south is plain commercial and orange self-storage. To the east is farm residential and it's undeveloped land. To the west is plain commercial. You have 23 or Columbus Pike, and then across from that is Pet Palace. Then a zoomed out aerial of the site, and also a zoomed in aerial of the site. And we are going to discuss briefly each variance request. And then I know the applicant has a presentation that they would like to give. And then once we go through that and the presentation, then we'll open it up to questions, comments, discussion. To briefly go over this, there are, for the staff review, there's 4 wall sign variances, vehicular sign variance, and monument sign variances. We'll start with monument signs. I put this in order to discuss monument signs first. Originally, the staff report was written differently, so the numbers are a little off on this version. So the first one is variance request is from section 22.04, conditionally permitted signs and monument signs. It's not more than one monument style freestanding sign shall be authorized for any one business establishment. The applicant is proposing the construction of 2 monument signs. A variance of 1 monument sign is requested. Exhibit 7, the variance request shows the 2 monument sign locations. And the next sign would be sign F, is the monument sign, which is along Columbus Pike. They're seeking an area variance from section 22.04A3B. It's the maximum height of such signs shall not exceed 8 feet above average grade of the site, and the sign location is distance from the right of way indicated. The applicant is proposing a monument sign to be 8 feet and 8 inches above grade. A variance of 8 inches is requested. Area variance from section 22.04A3E. The total display area of all surfaces does not exceed 32 square feet or maximum of 16 square feet per side or surface when this sign is located 15 feet from the primary frontage street right-of-way line. For each additional 1 foot setback from the street right-of-way line, an additional 8 square feet of total display area or maximum of 4 square feet per side or surface will be permitted up to maximum of 128 square feet of total display area or maximum of 64 square feet per side. The applicant is proposing a monument sign to be constructed roughly 18 or 19 feet from the right of way of Columbus Pike. It's stated in the application that they would be 23.5 feet from Columbus Pike, but based on the plans that were submitted, they were measuring from, not from the right of way line, they were measuring from a water line and not the right of way line. So if you measure from the right of way line, they're only 18 or 19 feet from the right of way from Columbus Pike. And then they're proposing to have a display area of 107.5 square feet per side. A monument sign at the setback of 19 feet is allowed to have a display area of 32 square feet per side for a total of 64 square feet. A variance of 75.5 square feet is requested per side. And Exhibit 8 is the sign, is the image of the sign that's being requested on Columbus Pike. Site plans.
Jeff,
bottom
this
one
is
is
the
the one that
first
shows the-
monument, right?
Yes, this is the one that's along Columbus Pike. And the bottom picture shows where they show the measurements from and where the right of way is highlighted. Sign G would be the second monument sign that they are requesting, which is along Graphics Way. The area variance from section 22.04A3E, which is the same with the display area. The applicant is proposing the secondary monument sign to be constructed 6 feet from Graphics Way and not from the right of way. The sign proposed will have 55 and 8/10 square feet display area per side. The minimum monument sign setback to allow this display is 25 feet from the public right of way. A variance of 31 feet is requested to allow the sign at this size. However, after reviewing a little more, the 6 feet that they have stated in their application, they'll be 6 feet from the right of way. Again, the plan show it 6 feet from the property line and not from the right of way. It's from the street. Based on that, it appears that the sign will not be outside of the right of way. If the sign is determined to be inside the right of way, it would not be allowed, as signs are not permitted in the right of way. This is an exhibit of that sign that's along Graphics Way. And then our next variances would go towards the wall signs. We would go to sign A, which is the east elevation. Commercial and industrial display signs. All display signs shall be mounted on the building which houses the business establishment advertised by such signs, except as otherwise specifically authorized by this resolution. Such signs shall be located on or along a wall of such building which faces a street, parking lot, or service drive, and shall be located no more than 15 feet above finished grade or the height of the ceiling of the first floor of the building, whichever is less. The applicant is proposing sign A on the east elevation to be placed at a height of 18 feet and 2 inches from finished grade. A variance of 3 feet and 2 inches is requested. This is exhibit of the sign A of the east elevation. Sign B is from the west elevation. Once again, this deals with the sign height from finished grade of 15 feet. The applicant is proposing a sign on the west elevation to be placed at a height of 15 feet and 2 inches from finished grade. A variance of 2 inches is requested. Exhibit 2 shows the sign B from the west elevation. Sign C, wall sign, is from the south elevation. Once again, this relates to the maximum height of 15 feet from finished grade. Sign A is to be placed at a height of 34 feet and 6 inches from finished grade. A variance of 19 feet and 6 inches is requested. And this exhibit shows the sign on the south elevation. Sign D for the wall sign is the north elevation. Once again, this deals with the 15 feet maximum height. The applicant is proposing sign A, the east elevation, to be placed at a height of 34 feet and 6 inches from finished grade. A variance of 19 feet and 6 inches is requested. And this is an exhibit of sign D of the north elevation. And then next variances would be sign E, which would be 4 vehicular signs. Section 22.03 permitted signs for vehicular signs, directional or other incidental signs pertaining to vehicular or pedestrian control on private property shall be permitted, provided the said signs for 3 is do not exceed 3 square feet of an area per side. The applicant is proposing sign E to be 9.5 square feet per side. A variance of 6.5 feet square feet per side is requested. And this is an example of sign E of the vehicular signs. The permitted signs on A for the vehicular signs, and then 4 is that the vehicular signs do not exceed 3 feet in height. The applicant is proposing sign E to be 6 feet and 4 inches from finished grade. A variance of 3 feet and 4 inches is requested. And then the last variance is from area variance from section 22.06 of the general regulations. The sign area is the aggregate sign area or display of all exterior signs of every nature shall not exceed 3 square feet for each lineal foot of street frontage of such building, up to a maximum of 1,200 square feet. Based on the calculations, the applicant is proposing 10 signs for exterior of the property, which all must be considered for maximum display area allowed. The allowable square footage of display area for this site is based on the frontage along Columbus Pike, which is 215 feet. Based on the calculation of 3 square feet of display area per lineal foot of street frontage, an allowable display area square footage is 645, which would be 215 feet times 3, which would give us 645 square feet of display area. All proposed signs combined cannot exceed 645 square feet display area. When you calculate all the square footage for all signs, they equal 781.2 square feet of display area. So a variance of 136.2 square feet is requested. This amount could change depending on approvals or denials of variances before this variance is discussed. Here's some site photos. This would be the same day that it was raining. Now it changed to snow by the time I got to these pictures. This would be similar to the area where the first monument sign would be located. And this would be the north elevation. And then this would be the area where they would be putting the second monument sign. And this would be the south elevation and also the east elevation of the building. This gives a little more clear picture of the south elevation. And I'm not sure who's going to present the presentation for the applicant, but I will get that up here too.
Good evening. How are you doing? My name's Rebecca Greene. I'm working with Zoning Resources. And Mr. Beard, thank you for helping us out today with this application. Do you have my presentation?
I do have it up. This is I should be sharing it, I believe. If not,
I'm sorry, I'm still seeing the staff report. I apologize.
Yep, I'll change it.
Could you provide your address, please, ma'am?
Yes, my address is 74 Glen Drive, Worthington, Ohio.
And would you affirm that you've been sworn in?
I was sworn in at the commencement of the meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Here we are. This is it. So Lifepoint Church is an organization that has 3 different locations in Central Ohio, 1 in Delaware, I believe 1 in Westerville, and then of course 1 in Orange Township. They currently have a location that they're using off of Graphics Way, and they desire to expand their location based on their the number of their congregants. And I had a little better weather with my photo, but this is a picture of the looking north. So this is the south side of the structure, and the parking, a bit of the parking. They desire to be an attractive part of Orange Township and put appropriate signage on their building so that it is an attractive and fitting design for the area. And they also are very concerned about site safety. Their population, they can have a large number of people at this location at one time. So they're very concerned about safe site circulation, as well as making sure adjacent streets and byways do not become congested when they are having their larger services. And with these factors in mind, they designed they hired professionals to design a sign package, a sign plan that could identify their structure in an attractive way and provide safe circulation in the site and on adjacent byways. So with that in mind, if we could just go to the next slide, Mr. Beard. Oh, there it is. And I apologize, the staff report I received had the wall signs first. So my slides have the wall signs first and not the monument signs. I'm just going to continue in this vein if it's okay with the board. There are three, this is just a locator of where the three different signs are. The sign A is the east, sign B is so it's a little different here, but sign A is the east, sign B is the west, and sign C is the south, and D is the north. And what's important to note about this particular slide is that this church has a lot of different uses, unlike Menards, which is our neighbor, that where you go inside and you pick up what you need, you pay for it, and you go back to your car. This particular building is used in a much different way. There are many different entrances and there are many different uses to the different parts of the building. So it's our desire to make sure that people can safely get to the entrance they need to be in and that they can use those portions of the building as, safely, get there safely. That is our goal. And also you'll see that with respect to the south elevation and the north elevation, there's a lot of glass, a lot of window space on those elevations. The reason for that is to provide natural light to our atrium in order to maximize that natural ambiance and illuminate the interior of the church. And it is our desire to, and that is driving a lot of what is happening with these wall signs on that side. If we could go to the next slide then. This just, you've seen this before. This is just an orientation of the building and how far it is from the various byways. So if we could just move on. Here's our neighbor, Menards. So this is the neighborhood we're in. It's a more commercial feeling area. It is populated with large box stores, as well as great parking lots and warehousing. Our southern neighbor is a self-storage area. If we just go to the next slide then. Mount Carmel is across the way from us on the other side of 23. And you can see that both the Menard signs and Mount Carmel signs are, tall or higher up than the standard that was applied by the sign code for wall signs. Could go to the next slide, please. Oh, this is one of our southern neighbors as well, just illustrating the commercial feel of this area. Let's just move forward. So this is, I'd like to discuss sign A, which is on the east. This is what it looks like right now. If we can move to the next slide, please. You can see that we have a specific graphic identifier that is the name of our church. And it is written in a cursive. As part of that identifying graphic, you will see that the tail of the letter P is drawn pretty far down there. And that challenges us in this instance to put the graphic at that lower 15-foot level. I believe with respect to, with respect to this particular wall sign, we're looking for a 3-foot, 2-inch variance. And our desire is, like I said, to keep that in an attractive location on this building. We have, and again, I'm not sure what the materials are here. I believe we have the architect available to discuss materials. I'm sorry, is he available?
Yeah, so it's faux wood below, and then there's the composite.
Sir, would you
sorry,
state your name, address?
Yep.
and affirm, please.
Austin Poe, 8090 Olentangy River Road. And I gave my swearing in at the beginning of the meeting.
Thank you.
So yeah, it's the materials that were discussed. Gosh, it seems like forever ago. A couple years ago, the metal panel, the faux wood, which is the brown tone, and then there is a fiber cement panel, the darker shade of the gray, which has a light on the underside, which will wall wash and soften the elevation, which kind of it underscores the signage.
That's excellent. So the placement of this sign was chosen to make sure this is an attractive part of the design, the overall design, including the lighting and the use of the materials here. And again, the long tail of this particular graphic does push it higher up in elevation. I think that is a consideration.
If I can stop and ask you a quick question, this is the east elevation, which would be pointing east and not west towards 23?
This elevation points towards Graphics Way. One of our concerns is that since we have a large number of congregants, that they may be coming up from the north or from the south, or even from turning like through the road that goes along Menard's parking lot. And so they would be accessing it maybe primarily by Graphics Way. I mean, we are expecting in our services up to 500 cars per service. And so we need to make sure we're managing traffic along Graphics Way as well as along 23.
It really is an interesting site. Not to mention the power lines, which, threw a curveball and, needing the site retainage, which we worked through, but really facing 23 Creekside and Graphics Way, truly is a campus feel, taking, the large footprint along the three adjacent thoroughfares.
So that's with respect to sign A on our east elevation. If we can move forward then, thank you. So this is a similar sign on our west elevation. We've kind of imposed it on this. And this is taken probably almost exactly where Mr. Beard took his pictures as you're exiting on the right turn lane onto Creekside going north. And you can see it. Why don't we move to the next slide? I think it's a little better.
Wait a minute, can you back up to that? That light point is superimposed strictly as an or as an illustration, correct?
That is correct, sir.
Okay.
Very good. So in this instance, we're asking for a very small variance of 2 inches. And that would be sufficient. The placement of this particular logo is, again, just on I think it's the faux wood, Mr. Poe, is that correct? I'm sorry, you must be muted, sir.
Let's say that one more time, sorry.
Yes, that's fine. This is on the faux wood, is that correct?
No, this is on the brick.
Oh, this is on brick.
Yep.
Yeah, very good. All right, so if we can move forward to discuss the next wall sign. So this is the view from Graphics Way. We are looking north, so this is the south elevation. And the sign would be placed where that red bar is over the windows. The church desired to have a great amount of natural light in their atrium. And so what we see here is, the result is, of course, then where do you put the sign in this situation? The canopy, is my understanding, was not designed for signage, but merely for rain weather protection. And so the sign, the best place for the sign on this elevation is over all the windows near the top. So let's move on to the next one. Oh, here it is. Here's our sign over the top, and you can see you're only, because since it's such a long building, you're only seeing just part of the elevation, the part of the southern elevation there at the bottom of this particular slide. And then again, the graphic as it sits at the top of that building. The next slide is the north elevation. And again, the red bar is just an indication of where that would be located. And it's similar conditions apply as the southern elevation. As you can see, it's a very similar looking entrance with the glass to provide the natural light. And if we can move, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, so there's glass up above the canopy and also below the canopy as well. It's just currently boarded up due to construction progress.
Great. And so with respect to our wall signs, part of our concern, we have several concerns. One is we are going to be attracting folks driving along 23, along Creekside, along Graphics Way. And then we would like to have a sign that identifies our parking. And so since we are have streets bordering 3 sides of our site, we feel that it's necessary to have these wall graphics. And we are concerned about traffic coming on 23 to this particular site, and want to make sure that we're strongly identified to avoid any confusion that would cause congestion. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to know real quick. I was looking through the US 23 corridor strategic guide that's been produced by MKSK. And they note in 2018, 36,000 to 88,000 average annual daily traffic along the 23 corridor. And by 2040, expected to be 45,000 to 100,000 average annual traffic, with 1 in 9 vehicles as 18-wheeler semi-trucks. So once again, as you traverse 23, knowing not only the pace of traffic for a Honda Civic, but an 18-wheeler as well, as you come down, making sure you make your turn and don't miss your turn and cause congestion or an accident at worst.
These are our primary concerns, again, is that this signage plan was hopefully trying to prevent those kinds of problems. So, Mr. Beard, if we could move forward then. Here again is the north elevation with the graphic applied. And then if we could move again. Let's see what we have here. This is the wayfinding signs. Because this building works less like a Menards and more like a building that is a campus, we felt it was important to have wayfinding signs, or I believe your code defines them as vehicular signs, throughout the campus to make sure our cars, our drivers, were able to get around the parking lot, which is substantial, safely. We have positioned one at each of the 3 access points, north, northeast, and southeast. And the idea here is to get you to where you want to go. If you want to go to the main sanctuary, there's an indication for that. If you need to get to classrooms, there's an indication for that. If you need to get to the delivery dock, there's a place for that. And just to keep this site moving safely. Obviously, our congregants and visitors range in age, some much older and some with young family, young kids. And so making sure that pedestrians are moving safely and drivers are moving predictably throughout the site is a priority. The reason for the height of these signs is we believe that they are appropriate as you drive, that they're appropriate for drivers to read the graphics on them that indicate the locations of these these items where people want to be and trying to figure out how to get to. So if we could just then go through, we could move to the next slide, sir. Thank you. And you can see these have different kinds of information on them. For example, trying to get you to the north, how to get out, how to get to the north entrance, how to find the classrooms. These are all important bits of information, and we want to make sure the lettering is sufficient enough that one can see it clearly, so you can make good decisions without wandering the site and perhaps causing other problems. So the idea here is that this information, which is a little more complicated than in or out or exit, is being viewed by drivers so they can make good choices. So the next slide. Oh, I did want to say, can we go back 2 slides? 2 slides. Oh, that's it. There is a fourth, there's the 3 at each of the access points. There's a 4th one as well, kind of in the back corner of this site. Like if you are trying to get out and you can't figure it out, this is the sign that would help you get out of this sort of complicated campus parking area. So that's the purpose of that 4th one. I think this is also a good slide just to kind of get a feel for the general site itself. As you can see, there's a retention pond at the southwest corner. There's a retention pond at the northwest corner. There are trees on the along the north perimeter along Creekside, on the east side of the north access way. This gives you a feel for some of the barriers and problems with monument signs on this site. So, okay, let's go ahead and move forward. 2 signs, yeah, there we go. So what's important to know about monument signs on this site? The first thing to know is again, we want people to see us on coming north and south. So on 23, so people can make good turns and responsible driving decisions. For the primary monument sign on 23, we're asking merely for an 8-inch height variance, but it is a larger area variance. And again, the reason for this is we are concerned about having so many congregants, so many visitors coming to this place that would be used for services, weddings, other in-service trainings, and largely attended events. We're very concerned about that turn. And that's why we are looking for it. We are somewhat prohibited. We have a hardship with respect to this retention pond. It is, a challenge. We could not put a sign in that. So it pushes that sign closer to Columbus Pike than I know your code would like us to have it there. The second sign, as you can see on the left part, is placed near an access point also. And the reason it's placed there is we have high tension wires that go over our site at the northeast corner. So if we can move forward then through the slides. Thanks. Just another example of some other monument signs in our area. This one is 10 feet tall. And if we could go ahead and move forward. This is the primary monument sign. And you can see here, it's just a gray background with the logo that we're looking for. And if we can move forward. Yet another rendering of the primary monument sign. And we can move forward again.
Well, stay there for a second. In
Hello.
this
Yes, sir.
drawing, it looks like there's blue light underneath. Is that actual lighting or is that just an artist?
I am going to ask someone who knows. So is Chris Rose available?
I am.
Sir, could you answer that question for us?
And it's Christopher M. Rose, 650 Lighton Court, Gahanna, Ohio, 43230, and I have been sworn in. The intention and direction for the aesthetic of this sign did have LED down blue lighting, and that is represented here in this rendering, and that is how we have it drawn as well.
Okay, I just wanted to confirm.
Thank
What
you.
is the upper portion lit?
There is a halo effect by LEDs on an interior cabinet where two pans will sit on the exterior side of that as well. So there would be a white interior halo LED, as well as the illumination of the Lifepoint Church.
The Lifepoint Church has its own illumination separate from the halo?
Currently, yes.
It's going to put out a lot of light.
Yeah.
And also, I'd like to make note that your base is not as wide as the sign. The base has to be as wide or wider than the sign.
If we could pull up the drawing, I would love to comment on that. So as drawn at 15.8 wide as the cabinet, we do have the limestone cap in alignment with that. But if the actual brick structural base would need to fit the same width, then that could be.
Yes, the base needs to be as wide or wider.
If approved.
If approved.
Sure.
I'd also like to mention that this primary monument will not impede a clear egress leaving the property. So some of the positions and sight lines where we had it is there based on some of the already in place corridors by the two other companies, Delco Water, I believe. And we showed that on the site plan. So that was primarily where we had to land the sign because of the retention pond.
Any other questions for Mr. Rose?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, sir. No, is that all then? Can we move forward? Mr. Beard, thank you so much. So here's where we are now. This is a location, a visual location for the primary monument sign. As you can see, not only do we have problems with the retention pond pushing us closer to Columbus Pike, we also have this Greene utility, we have this sign, and we have some utility poles and light poles. So it's important for us to have a large enough sign that we can be seen through some of this, these other items. If you could just move forward then. One more slide. Oh, this is the retention pond that is pushing us out towards the road. So this is a view looking kind of southwest. We're looking southwest from Creekside. Okay, and then another one. So this is the secondary monument sign, and there's the rendering for that. And if we could move forward. This is the high tension wires that are located to the northeast corner of our site. It does provide some additional problems with signage and just general use of the site. It is accompanied by many trees on the north side of the site, which will have at some point foliage that will block, at least we hope someday we'll have foliage that will block the view of some of our wall signs here. Can move forward. And then this is again an east view of the site. That little yellow thing, the little yellow bar is intended to show approximate location for the secondary monument sign. So if you move to the next slide, I think that might be the end of my slides. But I just want to say in conclusion, what we are doing here is trying to provide a sign plan that is appropriate for this building, that enhances its design, that is attractive for the residents of this of Orange Township, that will provide safe site circulation for our congregants, that will keep the adjacent byways from being too congested. But those are our goals for the sign plan that we have proposed. And I'm happy to take, I'm very happy to take any kind of questions at this time. We have with us the architect, a representative from the sign company, and I believe also representatives from Lifepoint.
I'll start some of my questions or comments to get started, this is Jerry Miller. And I guess I'm very familiar with signage and graphics because that's been my entire background for close to 50 years or over 50 years. And when a property is purchased and when an architect starts working with a client, they're well aware of high tension lines, trees, etc. So some of that, and I understand the concern of safety, but some of this should be well known in lieu of coming in for a request for basically double, if not triple the size of signage that's under our existing zoning. And that is a little bit perplexing to me of why they would come in for signage requests when the architects should be well aware of our zoning requirements. And I'll just leave that at that for this point. Also, on one of your first drawings that you provided, it was listed as north, south, east, west. If I'm not mistaken, one of them is labeled as Sorth, S-O-R-T-H, and that jumped out at me real quick.
Well, I apologize for that, sir.
No, that's hey, nobody's perfect. I'm not trying to say that. It's just you may want to correct it because it is a legal document. Mr. Beard, what is the size of the Menards, the hospital signage, et cetera? And part of my reason for asking that is the Menard signage is considerably further back than what Lifepoint's would be. Is that not correct?
The Mount Carmel sign and the Menards all were approved as part of the development tax, so the rezoning. Mount Carmel went through a signage amendment with the development tax to get those signs approved.
Right, I remember that well.
The Mount Carmel monument sign is 9 feet 8 inches and it's 162 square feet. And the Menards, I believe it was approved at the bottom of the sign was at like 24 feet, but I'm not sure.
But basically they're 100 plus square feet for the signage, whereas some of these is approaching 700 square feet. And yet the signage on the church would be much closer to 23 than what Menards would be. Am I correct at that?
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Hi, I don't believe we have any single sign that is 700 square feet.
Yeah, Mr. Miller, I just went on the monument sign for Mount Carmel. I don't have the total square footage. Might be able to find it, but
Okay. Good question.
you have to give me a little bit.
Sure.
It's approximately 20 by 10. So 200 square feet on each side, so 400.
The 700 square feet, Mr. Miller, is the total amount of signage.
Okay.
Give or take. I mean, that's where that number came from that you heard.
Okay. I knew I saw that. And
Yeah,
there's
the total.
There's so much data points here that's a little bit confusing at times, and that's why I wanted to clarify. Thank you.
And I don't believe that we've ever granted 2 monument signs to a single occupant.
Well, our goal here is to make sure that folks who are approaching us both on Graphics Way and who are approaching us on Columbus Pike, both of those have good signage to make sure they can get to us safely.
But Graphics Way speed limit is 25.
It is.
To 50 or 45, 55, et cetera. So for somebody to pick up on a much smaller sign, it would be much, 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 much easier.
If I could just state, we certainly appreciate the opportunity to present this case to the board. And we do know that according to the code that there are some variances being requested here. We certainly would like to work in conjunction with you to make this something that we feel would fit in this corridor and go along with the rest kind of the feel of the signs that are represented by our neighbors. We also understand that there's the undeveloped land off of Graphics Way that eventually may fill in and expand. That could potentially offer additional lineal footage as we're calculating all the math based on the Columbus Pike lineal footage. So again, not trying to make anything difficult, fully aware of the architectural constraints at the beginning of the project. Just wanted this to be something that Orange Township could see and recognize. And with our current 650 parking spaces, with an expansion of another 200, so 850 cars coming in and out at certain times, the signage is important that people will be able to view those and have lines of sight and not be making decisions at the last second. As this will, along with Austin's information, only have more cars and more people coming through here. So we certainly would like to take staff recommendations, definitely based on multiple monuments. We are willing to have discussions about what we can do to make you guys appreciate this package as well.
Well, unfortunately, and I don't mean to sound flippant because it's not meant that way in any way, shape, or form, but as it's a scenario that you bring to the board X request. And if there's a minor deviation, such as sign B, a variance of 2 inches is requested, that's minimal in comparison to some of the other requests that are nowhere close to that. And that presents challenges because it's not a quote unquote negotiating scenario that we are in, if you understand what I'm saying.
Certainly do, Mr. Miller, and I appreciate that, and apologies if that's what it feels like. That's not our intent at all. Again, it's a safety and recognition that we're looking for, and effective vehicular movement.
Right.
Campus feel. So thank you, sir.
And you know, is they've got the red light out in front of Menards as the Lifepoint comes online. I'm very sure that in a short period of time, and I can't say it's going to be 6 months or a year or whatever, I'm sure there's going to be another red light put out very close to your entity because of the increased business traffic and church traffic and stuff that's coming, not only 23, but Graphics Way, et cetera. So that's going to slow traffic down, which will make everything safer as well.
Well, they've got a right turn lane right there at Lifepoint.
Correct.
Yeah.
So
So it
part
gets them off of 23 on the double lane.
Right.
And so part of the future focused organization of the US 23 corridor strategic guide is to assist in the flow of traffic. So I don't know if I believe that there's going to be another light provided. And then, you know, the other thing about the 23 initiative is to update dated zoning along the 23 corridor, which, you know, dated zoning has, you know, farm residential along the 23 corridor, which is a obviously, you know, noted misstep that is trying to be improved upon. So I just, you know, suggest that we stay future focused and achieve the goals of the 23 corridor initiative.
Understood.
In terms of safety, have you considered painting the roadways inside 23 this way? I mean, that street on the pavement markers are just as effective as up in the air signs in some cases.
And don't require zoning approval.
That's right.
I understand. And I believe it's called tattooing the streets, which is a term that makes me kind of smile, but street tattooing is a common way of moving traffic along. The problem with street tattooing, it doesn't work as well when there's a high traffic volume. It works fabulous when it's a occasional person coming through or even a moderate amount of traffic. But when you have high traffic volume, as we are anticipating on this site, it is important to have good wayfinding signs that can assist drivers to move appropriately in a high concentrated area.
Jeff, I had a question. If they were to eliminate the second monument sign by Graphics Way, would that pull their total square footage within code? Just the way they have it outlined here.
They would still be over a little bit.
Well,
I think it's close, but not quite.
One of your signs, the sign F by itself is a maximum of 32 square feet per side. And the variance is for 75 and a half square feet.
That's
Jeff,
correct.
Can you go to the sign along Graphics Way to see the square footage?
The square footage along Graphics Way is 55.8 per side.
Per side?
Yep. So that'd be the 111.6 be on the screen that I shared now. So you would have had.
So you're close, but not quite there.
And so we were over 130 something?
136.2.
Yeah.
So the main monument sign would need to shrink some to pull us in.
Well, there's other signs that you can play with. The Lifepoint script.
Yeah, I was looking at the way they had it laid out right here. I kind of thought their signage on the building fit the building.
Except it's 19 feet higher than it should be.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
Well,
It kind of fits the building.
And I will say Menard's total signage was 843 square feet for all of their exterior signage, but they were allowed to have 1,200 square feet of signage.
But
They were
that's
allowed to
because
have the-
they're so
Right.
much further back from.
Setback.
yeah, based on the frontage
Right.
of their building. They were allowed to have the maximum of 1,200 square feet, and they were
And
almost
so,
400 square feet under.
so I do want to note the signage that we have high above the two entry areas on the north and south. While those are higher, the square foot of those are,
Right.
if you ask me, they're undersized for the building. This is a
They're-
massive.
I think they would look good
Yeah, I agree.
Well,
the way it's laid out.
but that goes back to the design of the building.
And I think in their signage for moving people around in the parking lot, I think they're a little tall. They may not need all that height. You could probably save some square footage there also. It looked like you only had 2 lines of information. Is there any of those signs that are going to require it to be that tall?
Rick, I would agree with you, and I appreciate that insight. I think the removal of the secondary monument sign and some height reduction on the vehicular signs would get us within the maximum square foot code that is allowed. It was kind of left open-ended as the exact copy was not determined. Most of the height was mainly, as those signs are not illuminated, it's a large campus. We wanted to catch the headlight beams as best as possible for when people were driving around at night. But based on the math with the removal of the secondary monument sign and I believe a reduction in height on some of the vehicular signs, maybe by a foot or so to still keep us in around that 5 foot area, as well as
Yeah, they just look like they're twice as tall
They are. They're a little
than
more
they
than
need to be.
they're a little more. Well, code wise, they're more than double.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They, and it-
would be a little bit short to be able to see while you're driving at a 36-inch. So, I do agree with you that they may look a little bit tall, and we should have a little bit of room to reduce our square footage in those.
You could also reduce some of your square footage by reducing or eliminating the halo around your main monument sign on 23. And I say that for 2 reasons. I do have a concern of that halo effect, along with the light point, which would be in white, to be that bright on 23.
And
So the combination of the 2, of the halo and the light point, could be blinding, which leads me to my next point of a question, or that part's a statement, but the next part is a question. From a design standpoint, what is your maximum lumen or wattage on the, or excuse me, color,
Temperature.
your color temperature?
The color temperature is in kelvins. It varies in the cool blue phase of 4,500 to potentially 6,000 kelvins.
We request below 3.
Yeah.
Sit
I
45
have that spec. So if we
is
would,
super bright,
well,
and that's
well,
almost blinding.
so the color is the Kelvin,
Yeah.
not the lumen. So if you're asking for the actual illumination, then below 3,000 is achievable and would be spec'd in the LED.
and Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, but the Lifepoint signage itself it's a standard day-night sign that it's pretty typical on a lot of buildings, right?
Correct. It's a face illuminated sign, the same thing that Menards is displaying and would be on a photo cell and
Right.
or tied into a timer.
Okay. As long as it's under 4,000 K, or excuse me, under 3,000 K,
3,000.
we're fine.
Sure.
The color is more critical than it being 500 watts or 200 watts. It's the color is what's so blinding.
The Kelvin temperature of 3000 is very achievable. It also will have the diffusion of the white acrylic as well.
Okay. But again, even with that said, that life point in the church and your symbol is going to be bright as it is. And you may want to consider doing the echo or the halo around it, which would also reduce your sign size.
Thank you.
80 all the way around on a sign this large is quite a few square feet.
Yep.
We were taking direction from the client and from the church body on the aesthetic and feel for that. And your comments are very appreciated. Do understand the 3000 Kelvin. That would definitely be achievable. In terms of the square foot reduction, again, if the secondary monument sign was reduced, as well as some size here, I very much feel strongly that we would get to where we needed to be in terms of overall area for the campus.
Okay. Again, I don't
Gary,
mean
hold on a second.
Yeah.
So for the vehicular signs, we look at display area. So for the square footage of the sign, we only took the square footage from the 2 feet by this distance, which is
Right. And that's what I was saying.
4.75 feet.
If they made their bases higher, they could still be the same height overall, but the display surface would be smaller. Actually, almost cut in half, it appears from their pictures.
Most of them only have a few lines of,
Exactly.
Yeah. Right.
And even if they just move the base up,
Right.
and
it reduces the sign face.
reduce the sign face, eliminate the monument sign on Graphics Way, I think would be good.
Yeah, the second monument display is 215 square feet. Wait a minute.
Mm-mm.
Monument F is 215, monument G, 111.
211.6. So that's a big chunk that
Right,
would
yeah.
come off the
Yep.
total area.
And it's
And
the church.
And then the vehicular signs, I think would probably get you right in the ballpark.
Excellent. Are there other concerns?
I know Austin keeps bringing up the 23 study. Orange Township did pass a overlay district, Route 23 overlay district. The signage that is allowed in that district is 20 feet for wall signs. So that, I mean, it increases a little bit, but it doesn't get up to the 34
Right.
height.
But, the conversation about the neighboring, facilities and the size of the campus still remains.
Yeah, but you also have Menards, for an example, that sits quite a bit further back from 23.
Agreed, Jerry. Mount Carmel is approximately the same setback from Columbus Pike that the new facilities. Gentlemen, I again thank you so much for the opportunity to present to you. And I know that you mainly have to make these suggestions, but is there a way that with your suggestions on some of the reduction that you've mentioned, that we may be able to have a conditional approval now and resubmit the drawings to show the square foot where you would like them and the removal of that secondary monument sign?
Jeff, this is Pete Griggs. I don't know if I've met everybody, but I'm the township's legal counsel. We have a lot of revisions going on, and it would be my recommendation that you continue the application to allow the applicant the ability to make some of the suggested revisions.
That sounds like a good
talked
idea.
about, and then bring it back. In that way, we know exactly and have all the dimensions and have all the signage, and we know exactly what we're approving.
So with that suggestion, Rebecca, that basically would mean you request that we table this for tonight. And by requesting a table for a revision, you would not be recharged the application fee.
I understand. I appreciate that.
Trying to save you money too.
Yeah, and then you
I
can go
appreciate
back
that
and
too.
take a look at your vehicular signs and see really exactly what you need there and what you can do with your bases. Personally, I like your vehicular signs.
I do
I think they're
too.
a lot better than being on the pavement.
I
Especially
appreciate
for
that.
older people like me.
Yeah.
We're not going to talk about old people, Mr. Oster.
And then going to one monument sign. I just kind of wish that could be put at the 25-foot mark.
That puts us in the retention pond.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can
But-
you move it north or south and get alongside the retention pond?
It
Or
would
to
not,
put it, if you moved that verbiage, well, never mind. I'm thinking,
Mr. Poe, did you have a comment on?
Yeah, so the issue is, the parking to the south and then to the north. It actually gets pretty ugly as far as power poles, electrical boxes, turn signs. It's quite congested with not the prettiest looking utility equipment. So we'd be, right in the thick of all the congestion going on.
Especially for the southbound traffic on Columbus Pike, that there's a line of sight hardship with the aforementioned utility boxes and things on that corner. With the tabling, and thank you, Pete, for that answer. Can I confirm the timing on if we do request a table here, when the next hearing would be and when our deadlines for the exhibits would be?
Mr. Beard?
Yeah, the next hearing is February 18th. We send out a packet a week in advance. So February 11th would be when we would send the packet out. If you have materials by that Monday,
I believe
I'm
that's the
okay with
8th.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
the 8th. If that works for you, or you can get it to me sooner if you wish.
We would love to, yes.
I'm okay. I'm okay with it by the 8th. Right now, I don't know when I'm in the office in February yet, so
I understand.
we can figure that out too. If I'm in on the 9th or something, we can have it on the 9th, so then I can review it and get everything done.
Yeah, I think if you work on your square footage there on your front monument sign, I think you might be able to decrease that a little bit, your vehicular signs. And like I said, I like the way you've got the building signage up. You've got it on all four sides, which should be adequate for everybody to see visually. Hopefully you can get that down a little smaller on the front monument sign. One of the largest ones I was thinking about was the Nationwide insurance down the street.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's even that big, is it, Jeff?
Nationwide is 70 square feet per side.
That would be similar.
And that's at 9 feet 3 inches. And that was also done through the zoning amendment to their development text, as they came after Mount Carmel did it. So
I think the other thing you need to remember is the base of that monument sign has to be bigger.
Yeah.
I have that written down. I appreciate that comment. Thank you.
Yeah,
And
just make
I'm
it as
hoping
big as
that-
your top plate and you'll be fine.
Great, thank you. I have that written down.
Mr. Oster, I don't, the vehicular signs, we talked about, reducing the sign face on them. I'm not, the height of them, personally, I'm not, I kind of like the way they sit, but if you reduce the face some, that would free up some square footage.
Right. And that's like I said, they could actually raise the bases
Yeah,
and they would look pretty much the same.
Right. Yeah.
It would just it would drop the square footage. It looks to me, I don't know exactly the text layout that they have for all of those signs, but it looks like it could decrease by almost 50% right there.
Almost half, right? I agree. Right.
Yeah. And I, you know, that's just my opinion. Like I said, we've never actually, I don't believe we've ever allowed 2 monument signs for a single occupant, only multi-occupant. So if they eliminate the one on graphics and just have the one out on 23, I think they'll be sitting pretty.
Okay.
I go by this all the time because I go to Menards a lot.
I do too.
I mean, you know, and you got the right-hand turn lane there.
Yeah.
I think you've got plenty of visibility. I don't think it's going to be a problem at all.
I'll make this promise to you that the building is not going to remain yellow.
We've watched it come together, driving by it every day.
Yeah.
It's a good looking building. It uses that space well, I think.
Yeah, I think so too.
Thank you very much.
So do you need me to go ahead and table this?
We'll make a motion to table this until next meeting.
If that's your motion, I'll second that. Did they have to? Do they have to request that?
If the board requests it, then the tabling fee would not be associated with it.
Right.
Got you. Perfect.
Right. If we request it.
Okay.
Now, Pete, should we table this or do we just need to recess it?
Yeah, so you're going to continue the hearing to a time, date, place certain. So continue the hearing to February, is it 18th?
Yes.
At 7 p.m. via Zoom.
At 6.
6 p.m. Right.
6 p.m.
Sorry.
Yeah.
It's all right.
And then they're going to redraw and refigure and give us all new figures.
Yep, they'll give you an amended application.
Right.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Do I need to make a motion?
Mr. Oster, you made the motion.
Second.
Mr. Oster made the motion to continue the hearing to Thursday, February 18th at 6 p.m. Second by Mr. Shipley. Those voting, Mr. Oster,
Yes.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Shipley,
Yes.
Mr. Trevs,
Yes.
Ms. Sundar.
Yes.
All right, the motion carries and we'll continue the hearing next month.
Thank you so
Rebecca,
much for all your help and consideration today.
Yeah,
Thank you guys. I appreciate your work on this. And like I said, I do like your layout and your vehicular signs. It's a lot less confusing.
Thank you again.
Rebecca, if you have any questions before then, just let me know.
You've been super helpful. Thank you so much.
Get it figured out.
Have a good evening.
Thank
You
you all.
too. Bye-bye.
Enjoy.
You know, one thing I'm surprised, I haven't seen it in the code, maybe I've just missed it, but on those vehicular signs, I wonder if the size of the letter should be specified.
Well, typically it's all based on the display size, overall display, not necessarily lettering.
Yeah.
Well,
You're not going to get too big of a letter in there anyway with a 2 foot wide sign. Even
Right.
if they shrink those down to 2 by 2, you know, they're going to have an arrow going this way and an arrow going that way.
well, but that's what I mean. If you're going 25, 15 mile an hour and you've got a 2-inch high letter, how visible is that?
I don't know. I like those. A lot of hospitals use that,
Mhm. But
you know,
I think
conventional sign. And I think it
Riverside-
makes it a lot easier to navigate.
Yeah.
You know, people are used to following the arrows. They read, you know, sanctuary or, you know, whatever. They follow the arrows.
That's a big area. It's a big campus with multiple parking areas. Entrances.
Yeah, they're going all the way around that building
They
too.
are.
Yeah.
That's right.
I think, going to one monument sign and then shrinking up those vehicular signs will get them into a good overall square footage.
And those
Yeah,
vehicular signs are within the campus.
Yeah. And then their Lifepoint script that's up above the glass there near the top of the building. That's.
They're going to see that long before they see that monument sign.
That's going to be a good spot for them. It goes along with the architecture of the building. I thought it looked quite presentable.
Yeah, but that's what's irritating. The architects, they don't care what zoning requires. They do what they want and then beg for forgiveness or make us look bad to the client. Well,
Hey,
why don't
All right, we got to move on to the next item on the agenda.
Oh, we got another item?
We've got a couple items. We got the minutes.
Oh, okay.
We got the approval of minutes from December 17th for VA 20-24 and VA 20-25. I know Mr. Shipley had sent me a couple corrections.
Well, I'm glad he found them because I didn't find any.
Yeah, I only, yeah. I read it all this time.
Good job.
And he had on VA 20-22 on line 89 was there's the word encroaches was in there that should be removed. On line 151 it had id and it should be its. And then I had a correction on just the spelling of the one applicant agent name on variance 20-23.
Well, if nobody else has anything to add, I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes from December 17th, VA 2024 and VA 2025.
As
I'll
amended.
second both.
Aaron, as
amended.
amended.
Thank you. As amended. Thank you. Yes, as amended.
Motion made by Mr. Shipley to approve minutes from December 14th, 2020 for VA-20-24 and VA-20-25 as amended, seconded by Mr. Treves. Those voting, Mr. Oster,
Yes.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Shipley,
Yes.
Mr. Treves,
Yes.
Ms. Sundar.
Yes.
And then our last items on the agenda are the election of a chair and vice chair for 2021. Anybody wants to nominate anybody or anybody who wants the position of chair?
Mr. Oster wants the position of chair.
Thanks, Aaron.
That's my nomination.
Mr. Oster and I actually discussed this earlier.
Do you want me to nominate you, Jerry?
He's trying to rob me to get him so he doesn't have to do some of the extra preliminary stuff. So
that's as good as any.
I'll do whatever is best for the group.
Right.
Yeah. I had discussed with Jerry, maybe we should swap, but it doesn't matter.
I could, either or for me.
If nobody else wants either seat.
You guys are doing just fine, as far as I'm concerned anyway.
We could nominate Miss Sundar,
Oh, no.
make her the big cheese.
Thank you so much. Thank you, but no.
All right, so with that information then, just to move forward, I'll make a nomination that Mr. Miller become the chairman.
I'll second. Go for it.
I have a motion made by Mr. Shipley to appoint Jerry Miller as the chair for the Board of Zoning Appeals for 2021, second by Ms. Sundar. Those voting, Mr. Oster,
Yes.
Mr. Miller,
I'll abstain because I can't vote. I won't vote for myself.
Sure you can.
Mr. Shipley,
Yes.
Mr. Treves,
Yes.
Ms. Sundar.
Yes.
Okay. Then that takes us on to the items of vice chair.
I'll make a motion to make Mr. Oster the vice chair since he's a glutton for punishment as I am.
If I could get a good internet connection, you know, I'd be in.
I'll second that one.
Motion made by Mr. Miller to elect Mr. Oster as the vice chair for the Board of Zoning Appeals for 2021, seconded by Mr. Treves. Those voting, Mr. Oster,
Yes.
Mr. Miller,
Gladly.
Mr. Shipley,
Yes.
Mr. Treves,
Yes.
Ms. Sandar.
Yes.
Motion carries. Mr. Oster, as you're outgoing last meeting, do you want to adjourn the meeting?
Okay. I will adjourn.
Hey, and don't forget, when we do finally be able to get together, it's going to be Mr. Oster that gets to buy the beer since he's been the big kahuna for the last 2 years.
Nice.
And
Last 2 years.
now.
Well, somebody had to do it. Nobody else wanted to do it.
And while everybody's on here, we do have Pete Griggs, who is our outside legal counsel that we've contracted with to help us on some situations. And eventually, one of these days, we'll set up training some evening.
Good.
To go over items and kind of fine tune some things and try to get a more concrete process and get all the little things out of the way. And
Yeah, as
figure out
long
all
as Pete can get us paid for that, that's all good.
Hey, I do have a question, Mr.
Sure.
Beard. You made reference a couple of times during the meeting this evening about upcoming changes in zoning guidelines or things under discussion or whatever. And I know this was something that was brought up before. Are we going to be part of that discussion?
eventually, whenever we do the zoning code update.
Before it's done or after it's done?
Before it's done, we haven't done any of the code update. All we've done is the Route 23 overlay district.
Okay.
Once we get approved to reach out, we will have Pete look at our request for that, and we will contract out to a consulting firm or some type of firm that will help us rewrite our whole zoning resolution.
Okay.
And is the 23 overlay done that we could see it?
It is. Yep. And it is on our website. It is part of our zoning resolution now. It's Article 20, I believe.
Okay. I'm sorry, I missed that. I'll go look at it.
No, but it is in there. And it shows the maps of where it covers and everything. But I know, but if you guys have any questions for Pete or anything, he is on here.
In that regard,